Hello friends, I'm Lisa. After I came to the UK, I found that the UK and China have completely different burial customs. For example, I went to the funeral of my husband's uncle, and there were many friends and family members together. Someone read the eulogy, and then we had a simple meal together and it was over. It's completely different in China. Let me talk about China traditional burial customs. I will take my father as an example. When my father was in his last moments, I felt his pulse on his wrist. It was beating and then suddenly stopped. I had to put 2 coins in his hands, which meant that he would have money to buy a ticket to the other world. His face is covered with yellow tissue paper. After my father died, he had to lie in a coffin in the living room for 3 days. And then his children had to sleep around the coffin for 3 days. I kept hearing noise from the coffin when I slept at night, and I was very scared. In China, every community has a group that specialized in handling funeral. Of course, they charge a fee. When someone dies, someone must go to inform all relatives and friends. After receiving notice, relatives and friends would come to our house, and when they were near our house, they would start crying as they entered my house and kneel down in front of my father's coffin. My brother and my sister all kneeled by coffin and nodded to thank them. Usually the body would be dressed in shawls, and an oil lamp would be placed in front of the head. The lamp had to be kept lit. It was said that this was because the soul was still there after death, and the other world is dark, and the lamp will help light the way. In China, we believe that the soul will return home and say goodbye to the family 7 days after death. To see if the wood had returned, there was a ceremony that required my brother to move a small piece of yellow tissue paper along the wall. If the paper stuck to the wall, it meant that the soul had returned. Miraculously, I really heard the soul of my father's walking stick on the 7th night. The team handling the funeral will have a table and write down the names of the people who come to the house, because interpersonal relationships in China are give and take. Every friend and relative who comes will give money to my brother, because in China, if a person has a son, it is usually the son who gets the funeral money. In the future, if the people on the list get married or have a funeral in their family, my brother will have to give them the same or more amount of money. At Chinese funerals, people have to wear white clothes. They are made of white cloth, which is hand sewn by some old woman. It is very simple. Women have to cover their heads. Everyone has to hold a branch. The oldest son has to hold the thickest branch. He has to bend down and hold my father's portrait. He has to cry loudly while walking forward, even if he doesn't have tears. He has to make a fake cry sounds. The team behind my brother is all men. As a daughter, I'm in the women's team. Usually, there must be someone to support the son and daughter, and they all have to cry. I was quoted for crying with make any sounds by some old woman. In a traditional Chinese funeral, there are some things which are made out of paper. For example, people and houses, gold ingots, silver coins, horses, and a sedan chair. These are things that the soul will need in the next world. And now, the people made it's not only that, and also they make a TV, a car, or sofa, everything they can made by paper. On the night before the burial, there is a ceremony that the daughter has to perform, which is to stand on a chair and put the paper treasure into the paper house while crying, which means she is give money for her father. The louder the cry, the better. In some rural of China, there are also professional mourners who you pay people to cry at a funeral, and they will sing while crying. On the way to bury my father, the paper center chair and 2 pieces of my father's clothes must be burned. And on the way, they will stop on the road several times, and then take out food and incense. And then all the men will cut down and burn in turn, usually 3 times. And their special postures for burning is like this. When burying my father in the ground, only sons and other men are allowed there. Then all the paper things must be burned, which means that my father will not be left with nothing when he goes to the other world. They will invite people who specialize in funeral singing to sing for almost the entire night. Some rich people will pay people to sing for 3 days. There will be a big banquet during the day, with dozens of tables full of guests. The food at the funeral is very delicious. Although the cooks are not professional chefs, they are people who specialize in cook for funerals. To be honest, they are better than these made by restaurant chefs, because the chefs all from the same area, everybody know them, and also the food are fresh. The food at a funeral is all cooked on the spot. There are about 12 different dishes on a table. Men eat with men and women eat with women, because men smoke or drink. Now in China, you have customers coming. We will cook at least 4 dishes or 6. Or if very important customers or your friends, we will cook 12 dishes or 10 dishes. In China, we believe that when a person dies, there are soul collectors who come to take the dead away. In China, there are 2 soul collectors. One wear black clothes and one wear white clothes. They all wear tall hats and have long tongues. In China, if a person looks like they are about to die, they must be given special clothes. I changed my father's clothes. A few minutes before my father died, he suddenly screamed as if someone was dragging him away and shouting that he didn't want to go. Then he started calling for his mother and seemed to see my grandmother. I guess it was my grandmother who came to greet my father. In China, we prepare food for many festivals and go to the cemetery. We dig a small hole in front of a grave and put a little bit of each food in it before burning it. We also prepare a lot of paper money to burn for the deceased. We also have special days to visit graves, and we have to bring food. if the deceased drink and smoked. We will also take alcohol or cigarettes. The alcohol will be poured on the ground, and the cigarette will be lit and burned. There's some difference between burial practice in urban and rural China. The practice is simple in cities, and the different regions have different practice. If in your country or your city or your area have different about this, please write comments to me, and see you next time.